Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Brave Kai here once again with another Frontier Signals update. I'm actually re-recording this because I just wasn't happy with my energy levels, you know? And plus, my mic was cutting out a little bit. So, here for round 2, double take. I've got some updates to go here on the website itself. And at this point, this thing is getting ready to potentially be hosted and become an actual website, which is great news, but there's some very critical key things that need to happen. I think the most important thing is optimization. So, I mean, I'm running this on my gaming PC with decent internet, you know, not great internet, but good enough. So, like, you know, the map, I don't really have too much trouble with that, although, you know, if I start to add some things here, it does get a little bit laggy. But the main thing here is just, well, the amount of different feeds is starting to catch up. For example, if you look in the corner here, this has been loading, like this hasn't stopped loading, and I refreshed it maybe like 2 minutes ago. It shouldn't take 2 minutes for it to load the whole video. So what that comes down to, and I want to kind of take my time with these. I feel like I kind of start rushing through things as if I need to be in some sort of hurry. But basically what I need to do is optimize the entire layout. So it's good that I have some of these inside of these collapsible table or these collapsible sections. But the thing is, alright, it's still trying to load whatever's in here even when it's closed. And so there is a way for me to make it so that nothing that is inside of these collapsibles here actually starts loading anything until you actually open it. Man, it just takes forever. I think I realize now why something like this does not exist yet. It might just be too many things to be handled at once, but you know what? That's a problem I'm pretty sure I can solve and is not going to be too big of an issue. I might have to do, again, a whole lot of optimizing on some of these things and try to figure out some solutions. But look, man, we live in the age of AI, and the thing is, you know, AI has helped me a ton with even trying to do this. Now, the thing is, you know, I don't want AI to do everything for me. In fact, like, that's kind of what I realized is I've actually been able to learn a lot about coding from the use of AI, because I mean, I want to know like what my code is doing and how it actually functions, because that's the other thing is like bug fixing and some of the other just kind of you know, I like to have full control over what I'm creating. I have a very specific layout, a very specific thing that I want to accomplish here. And, you know, even though AI is pretty advanced, it still does not exactly do what you want. So, I mean, I've been building this like since last, I don't know, October or so. October 2025 is when I started this project. So, you know, I've been building it just piece by piece, trying to learn kind of how all these things actually work. And that is part of the reason why I'm trying to do it without any complex coding, like using backend server proxies, or I don't even want to have to use an API key. Like, for example, when I was trying to get the NASA feeds on here, that was the main method. But then, well, it seems like I figured out the perfect solution to getting these things on here reliably without having to do any of that. Is it the legit way? I still don't know, but it works. So hopefully, again, I'm gonna have to do a lot of research on actually hosting this website. Again, making sure I'm not stepping on any toes or doing anything I shouldn't be doing, like in terms of copyrights or, using other people's material. Everything here should be completely open source, public information. And then, that kind of rolls into the frontier science articles. So peer-reviewed papers, publications, anything of the sort. Again, I've been doing research here. So I'm not too worried about getting all of these on here yet. I have some others I can put. But the thing is, I'm just trying to get the layout, get the organization, the structure, so that when I want to add more, it's lickety-split. And then also, again, researching what I'm allowed to put on here and what I'm not. So I did add the plain language summary for both of these, and I added this one. It's a publication about mapping Carrington storms. So it looks like if I just copy and paste the verbatim text from the link, that I think that's okay. I might have to double check, but it seems like it is. So that's about as far as I can go. I'm not allowed to put the PDF on here. And then I'm supposed to use this specific link. So that's what I'm doing. Trying to make sure I follow the rules, And so that's basically what stands in my way from getting it hosted, besides potential financial things. I'm not going to be monetizing this website. In fact, I might even just be going for like a .edu, all right, because that's what this is for. It's for educational purposes. And now, I want to set up a Patreon or something, maybe a donation page, I don't know. And that's going to be more like on my actual YouTube channel. I don't want to, I'm not trying to do this all for free for nothing, okay? I still need to live. That'd be great, but anyways, I digress. Let's get into a little bit of an update for today. And, I'm pretty much going to go here. This is, I feel, most comfortable talking about earthquakes than I do anything else. And, it's just right here. I like this program. I freaking love the overlay that I'm using from Dutch Sense. It is brilliant. It looks nice. It's clean. And it has all the arrows. It has all these symbols that just over time, it just proves itself to be correct. We get the letter D over here with some deep activity. We have the letter D here by Fiji with, again, deep activity with the ones that are raised high off the globe. And then we have 3 Ds over here with, again, more deeper activity on each one of those locations. And the arrows show the transfer of the seismic wave pressure. And so that's kind of the general direction that these things follow in. But the other main kind of stipulation with Dutch's or earthquake forecasting logic is that, well, it's a standing wave. And what that basically means, or how that kind of ends up functioning, is it's going across a vast area, even across the entire Pacific, and then it's also bouncing back and forth between different regions. So, you have energy that can bounce back and forth along the West Coast. You have energy that can bounce back and forth between Japan and the rest of the Indo-Australian plate. And you have energy that can bounce back and forth here. Those are kind of the main 3 kind of examples. And I feel like I'm learning something every day on how these things work just by observing them, by looking at what other people are saying. And, again, this is frontier level science, okay? Mainstream does not accommodate for earthquake forecasting, okay? They will tell you that earthquakes are essentially random, and that's slowly changing. There have been some more recent examples of more mainstream sources trying to predict an earthquake or forecast some sort of watch zone, but it's like mediocre at best. It's like they're barely acknowledging that sort of possibility. So it's slowly happening. It's just it's really from these independent sources that seem to be a lot more trustworthy and have a lot more merit than any mainstream source at this point. And if you know some of the main reasons why that is, then you know. And if you don't, well, that's why you're here. Hopefully. So, we're all learning together. Anyways, so what has been going on? Well, if you look here, we basically have 6.0 activity. Again, similarly sized earthquakes bouncing all the way around the entire Pacific. Now, the only place that doesn't have it is South America. So, honestly, I would think, I'm not quite confident enough to call for actual watch zones. But look, there's a quiet zone here. We have multiple 5s and a couple of slightly deep earthquakes here. And we have all the activity up here. I would suspect we could definitely see something pop up here, either in, the kind of the edge here of Central America going into South, or somewhere possibly further along, maybe centered on this volcano. I would expect something around here to pop off, considering everything else. But we do have more activity going into the States. So if we just take a look at all of it, at least the more recent. So I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about this one. This is definitely a 4 or greater. This actually happened by Dutch Sins. He lives outside of St. Louis, and he said that this was his first felt earthquake in his life. That's pretty spectacular. That's amazing. Considering, he's such an expert on this topic. He really is. And yet this was the first actual earthquake he's felt. That's a very similar level of passion that I feel towards these things. I have not felt a real earthquake. I think there's a chance I might have felt some sort of tremor one time or something, but I don't know what it was. It could have been a big airplane flying overhead. I don't really know. So I'm in the same boat. And yet I feel an incredible amount of passion towards all of these things. And I want to learn more. So, it's interesting how that works. Even people who have never actually experienced something or even have the risk of having to deal with it, and yet I feel like I want to know everything about it, So anyway, we have, pretty substantial movement considering there's been a 4 and 4.6 now in the Midwest, and then also a 4 kind of in the Mid-East region, and there's been more activity than this. There's earthquake feeds that are even more reliable here. This is just what automatically comes with this program. So I actually might want to look into getting more feeds on here. But look, there's like hundreds of things on my to-do list at this point. Like, my life is just a to-do list right now. And it's honestly pretty amazing. I'm here for it. There's so many incredible things going on. Things are getting busy, even in regards to like different networking and creating survival groups for the given events here happening on Earth regarding the poles moving, the magnetic field weakening, geophysical events, cyclical things, you know. Again, like, I'm totally down to discussing those things in video. But when it comes to this website that I'm making, like I said, I want to make this more from a neutral point of view. So I'm not going to be pushing any specific theories that other scientists are making unless it is in a peer-reviewed paper. However, I'll still talk about those things time to time, or even make specific videos on them, talk about them on X, that sort of thing. But when it comes to this resource that I'm making, I want it to be fairly unbiased and from a kind of neutral perspective. And it's only going to grow over time, and there's a lot of stuff to cover. Now, okay, the ancient history section, this one is obviously going to have the most controversial kind of subject matter, but that's honestly just because the entire field of archaeology, ancient history, is already like in a battle with itself. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're talking about in the ancient world. There's conflicting opinions, conflicting interests everywhere you look, so that's unavoidable. If you're going to talk about ancient history in any form, yeah, you're gonna get some disagreements. You're gonna get different theories. So this is really the one exception. Okay, when I start to develop this and whatnot, I still don't really know what I'm gonna do with this section. All I know is it is still just as important as everything else. So, all right, the last thing I'm gonna cover here, I'm just gonna kind of run through, I guess, my own kind of feeds here. It looks like everything is finally done loading. I don't think that's the case. So anyway, it looks like things have finally mellowed out, except now we are back in a minor solar storm, probably just because of the M flare that happened. So there's nothing really major. Luckily, pretty much all of the US is about to have a major winter storm happening. So I could see, that's another thing that I want to implement, whether it's in this map or something separate. That's what I want to do, is also have something for severe storm watches. Look, the possibilities are endless, and I want to explore all of them. Speaking of that, I did in fact put every single magnetic field line feed on here attached to its respective angstrom. These are quite interesting to look at. They all kind of give their own little specific story on what's going on in the sun. Although, I'm pretty sure the field lines themselves all look pretty much the same. Actually, no, they all look a little bit different, which is interesting. They're mostly the same, but they're also different. So I don't know, that's just another thing. Again, I don't know if I already mentioned this because I'm re-recording it, but there's a lot of optimizations that I need to make. I think that's honestly the biggest thing. So, but it's looking good so far. I'm feeling good about it. And, I think that'll about do it for this update here. Once I get things really rolling here, and once I get this actually hosted and, get a lot of these functions dialed in, I mean, these videos are going to become a lot more consistent. You know, right now I'm just bouncing off the freaking walls with different things, so it's kind of hard to keep organized. It's kind of hard to look through all the data every day when I'm trying to create everything. So anyways, that'll about do it for today's update. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next.